Good morning. I'm Malcolm Nance, and if you're seeing this with me looking clean and sharp and fresh, that means you are on day 64 of the U.S.-Iran, what we had until just this morning called the geopolitical cast, which will still be going over geopolitics. But you are back to the U.S.-Iran warcast, day 64, live with Jacob Kaarsbo, Danish intelligence officer, Middle East expert extraordinaire. Wajeeh, the gay lion from Minneapolis, reporting in as our Saudi Arabian-born Gulf States geopolitical analyst who has no intelligence community affiliation, but his expertise is unchallenged. And myself, I'm Malcolm Nance. This is Black Man Spy. Welcome to a new show. As I promised, I have high-speed, stable internet. And I am still traveling. I am still on my, well, not yet, not so secret mission. But for those of you who are watching anyway, you are seeing this on Substack Live. And if you're watching it on YouTube, you are watching a recording of our Substack Live. And I know that the warcast has gone many different places over the last 65 days. But more importantly, we have gained a lot of followers, not as many followers as I need. I'm trying to get to 250,000 followers on YouTube. So if you're following on YouTube, recommend this podcast to your friend, because especially starting today, you're going to find out the U.S.-Iran geopolitics is getting spicy, and it may be going back to day one. So if you're watching it later on and you're watching the recording, then you can't interact, but come to Substack, go to malcolmnance.substack.com, subscribe as a free subscriber, just so that you get notifications for this warcast. Good morning, everybody. Hey, John. Hey, Debbie Gonzalez. So first, a little bit of administration to show that you have approved of this warcast and to show Substack you love it so much. There's a little heart thing down there at the bottom. Press those hearts. I'm doing it. I'm doing it like 20 times right now. That will tell the algorithm that the warcast is up and that people like it, right? And so, you know what they say. What do they say? Like, subscribe, thumbs up, whatever. I don't know. That being said, we are waiting to get to about 1,000 subscribers. We've been pushing 2,000, only on the worst days of this war. Hey, where's that guy from? He says, good morning from Philly. Hey, what's up, Robin Adler? I will see you soon.
We had a Kiwi joining
William
yesterday,
White's listening
Malcolm.
from Nîmes, France. Qu'est-ce qui se passe?
We had a Kiwi
Bonjour,
yesterday.
Nîmes. No, bon appétit. What's that?
We had a Kiwi yesterday, all the way from New Zealand.
A Kiwi? Yeah, we've seen that guy. He comes on every morning. Morning in Kiwi land. I've been there, done that, got the T-shirt, got the Spy Valley wine. Okay, first, gentlemen, since we're not all wearing headgear, because I obviously finally got a haircut and a shave, and I want to tell you the legacy behind that story. One, Jacob might remember this. When I arrived in Greenland, I was pretty clean, wasn't I? Right?
Yeah,
I had I got a haircut and a shave. Elkins Park. I lived near Elkins Park, Pennsylvania. I lived in right there in Mount Airy. But I when I was in Greenland, I had just gotten a shave, so I was freezing. Right? I was wearing that hat all the time and all my neck gear and everything. I had not gotten a haircut or a shave since Greenland. And when I looked at myself this morning, I looked like when I was in the International Legion in the Ukrainian army, I did almost 4 months without shaving. It was a big thing. Don't shave until the offensive is over. And then I finally shaved. I didn't shave. I went to Paris with this big, as they say in World War I, poilu, right? Where you have, it means hairy, right? And the poilu was the name of the French soldiers in the trenches of World War I. And I had this giant beard, almost as much as I had yesterday, maybe another couple of inches growth. But I went and then I put on this fabulous suit when I was in Paris, and I went to one of the oldest restaurants in Paris as a reward, and I looked good. But then I was like, and I'm getting a shave tomorrow morning. And that guy had to use like sheep shears on me. Right? He didn't use a razor. He literally got big shears, right? Like garden head shears in
Oh
Paris
my
and
God.
cut me down and then gave me a shave there. So somebody said she wished I didn't have to serve, but you know, but it happens. Wait, I wish you didn't shave, but when women get older, what? Somebody made a comment about why I didn't have to shave. I'm sorry though. So why I shaved is one, this is my official visage. Two, I got so hairy, it was ridiculous, crumbs in your coffee and everything. So I went to a Turkish barber today and I just showed him some photographs. He was like, no problem. But I got the full man spa treatment this morning. The only thing I didn't get was I didn't ask for a tea with sugar and I didn't get Turkish delight. And that's normally the first thing they do is they sit you down and they go, would you like a tea? And I didn't get offered a tea, or Turkish delight, which guys, I'm gonna have to correct them on that. But sat down, full head massage, got all that. And when I lived in Abu Dhabi, my late wife used to say, are you going to the barber? I would say, no, I'm going to the man spa. And that's what it was. I got razor shave today. I got the full steam mask put on me. He gave me the massage of the head and the ears. He pulled my ears and all. I was like, the Turks. Made me want to be in Istanbul because I could have ordered a Turkish coffee hilwa and I would have had 5 or 6 pieces of nice Turkish delight, but he didn't have that. So that being said, that's my headgear today is my beautifulness. Huh? So what coffee cups are we rocking? Because I have a surprise.
I got the fuck you, Putin out there again.
Wonder Woman's making a reappearance. Watch it. Man, it makes... Tell me the truth, Watch. You wanted to be a Wonder Woman when you were a kid, didn't you?
You know what? I can't deny that, I can't deny that.
Was it the boots? Was it the bustier? Was it the invisible airplane that you could see her flying through the air? But you couldn't see the plane?
I mean, the fabulous was there. It was all part of the act. Feminism too,
Well, I went out this morning and I went on a long trip and rushed to get back to this one. And I acquired a new coffee mug. And one of you is going to inherit this mug. Here's my mug. This is where I was this morning. I mean,
You gotta give us a closer look.
I need glasses.
Yeah, we can't see.
Lens and Cornwall.
I literally went to the end of England this morning, literally 0. And then if I had turned around and drove straight north 854 miles, I would be in a place called John O'Groats, which is the single northernmost place in the United Kingdom that is physical land. So now I got to try to do that by the end of the week. I mean, it's almost a challenge for me. No, not doing that. All right, just letting you guys know. So we have Oregon. A lot of people from Oregon on here. Hey, I want to thank you guys from Oregon for getting up so early. That's 6 a.m. You're like me. You're old folks. You're probably up at 3 doom scrolling. All right, with that, let's move on this morning to our first category. We are going to be adding to the geopolitical warcast new categories. And those categories are going to be, first, we're going to keep with casualty count. Second will always be oil. Third will be significant activities. Then after Iran, the United States, and diplomacy, we are going to shift to Europe, Africa, Asia, and Latin America, because we're finding everything we're talking about is now impacting globally. And everything that's impacting globally is coming back to the U.S.-Iran war, including, somebody gave us a Slavo-Ukrainian, including the Ukraine war is now front and center of Iran. And the crazy stuff that we learned yesterday about the United States and Ukraine is nuts. We'll talk about that shortly. So let's move on. Waj, who has the casualty? Do you have the casualty count?
Yes, I do. But you know what's interesting about the casualty count is that Pete Hegseth yesterday was testifying at the Congress, and we learned that the United States did not report on 2 U.S. casualties.
Wait, are these the people who died of heart attacks or other injuries during operations?
I don't remember, but there is additional 2 U.S. soldiers that have been that died during this war, during this within the conflict, and it brings up the total to 15.
In fact, at one
No, I'm here.
At one point, we had the casualty count at 15. And we had taken off the people who were not killed in action. And the other person didn't die from wounds sustained from action. So those were just being in the armed forces. You bring 50,000 people out, every month someone's going to die, or an accident, or things like that. One person I understand was a heart attack, and the other person I understand was some sort of illness that resulted in their death in the Central Command AOR. The one person who died of a heart attack was on a ship, like an aircraft carrier, and that happens a lot. So 15 total U.S. casualties, 13 killed in action. And remember, they're crazy about the number 14 killed in action. They don't want to exceed what Trump thinks is Joe Biden's worst day, which was when he was in Afghanistan and the 13 soldiers were killed at the Abbey Gate in the suicide bombing. Trump completely blew off the almost 3,000 soldiers who died in combat in Afghanistan over 20 years. Weird, right? Okay, so the casualty count looks stable?
Yes.
Has there been any increase?
What about Lebanon?
I was going to say, has there been any increase in Lebanon?
The updated one is 2,509 people killed and 7,755 people injured. As of the latest ceasefire, people have been reported going back to the southern Lebanon, all the way to 3 kilometers away from where the Israelis currently are. Lebanese people have been back to their houses up to 3 kilometers to where the Israelis are.
Yeah, I think the casualty count is going to go up. The Israelis and the Hezbollah have been trading a lot of fire, and we're going to talk about that. Essentially, the ceasefire is over. You know, like I told you guys, the Israelis lean in. They lean in when they get a ceasefire. What they do is they pile giant stacks of ammunition. I've seen this. And then they wait for the ceasefire to break. One errant bullet, some guy at the shooting range trying to zero his rifle, they will break that ceasefire. They will come right in and say, ceasefire's broken, and they'll fire off 1,000 rounds of artillery. So that's just the way they do business. I've seen that since I was 19 years old. Okay. I'm 64 now, so that tells you a lot about how the Israelis, when they want to fight, they fight. Okay. Next, the price of oil. This is stunning. Yesterday, I don't recall Brent North Sea crude pushing 130. Is it 113.98? It looks like. That's insane.
Yesterday
West Texas
was at
Intermediate.
115.
but it's actually gone down. I mean, last
Yeah.
night it was 120. This morning
Hmm.
it was 125. So it's gone down
I
this
heard that.
afternoon. I can't explain why.
Well, we'll give it 24 hours because
Yep.
based on what we're seeing now about what Trump has planned, it's going to go back to 125. But what we're seeing here, remember, there was a gap between paper projections and the actual cost of oil. And we're now seeing that paper projection meet up with the actual cost of oil, and there's no more oil in between it to fake, right? It's going to
Hmm.
move up like this. West Texas Intermediate means that now they got to project that there's no oil out there. I read a very interesting statistic this morning that the United States is selling 6 million barrels of oil per day. And here's an interesting fact, and they're selling it to the foreign market. And
Yeah.
this is what I heard. They're selling it from our strategic petroleum reserve to make money. They're not flowing it into the U.S. market to lower the prices. They're selling it because they make more money. So the U.S. government is acting like a European buyer and beating people at the auction. But that oil was supposed to go to the American market, but they're not. They're selling it off. These people are so freaking corrupt. It's painful.
Here,
Oh, this is not going to get good.
let me give a kind of a correction.
Mm.
So the strategic reserve that the United States have is at a historic low.
Right.
Our production that is made right now is meant to go and fill that hole that we have in our strategic reserve. What we have done instead is divert that sale because we cannot legally sell from our strategic reserve because the strategic reserve is made as a matter of national security. So what we do is we play the system, so we sell it before it gets to the strategic reserve.
Mhm.
And what we do is we sell that to the rest of the world. Now, what we are doing from the US government is what we are taking from the strategic reserve and we are feeding that to the US military. That's how we are giving the US military most of its oil.
Okay.
Now, 90% of the oil that the United States used to produce before this war, the United States consumed. So 90% of the oil that we are we're selling, those couple million barrels of gallons of oil a day. We could be putting that in the U.S. market and dropping the oil price at the gas pump.
Oh, no.
But Trump is choosing not to. And he's choosing to bank on the global economy to stabilize the U.S. market that he's already fucked up because the rest of the global economy is fucked up. 90% of the oil that the Middle East sells goes to China and goes to Japan and goes to South Korea and goes to Europe. And the United States gets most of their products from China, Japan, South Korea, and Europe. And if they can't get their oil, all your prices that you get from your own imports are already going to be higher. That's what's happening.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. There was a joke that Rick Wilson, the political analyst, did this morning. It was supposed to be about the seashells, 8647 or 45, that is now being used to indict a former director of the FBI for attempted threatened assassination, right? He took a photograph of some seashells on the seashore. Anyway, so Rick Wilson takes it and goes, "Hey, guys, do I need a lawyer?" And his said, The price of gas in Michigan is $4.99 average per gallon, right? Average. I mean, it's insane. We are literally going to go to $5 a gallon and $6 a gallon. And here's, mark my words, we said this yesterday. I don't think it's ever going back down. That profit, they're getting all of the profit of selling off the oil they have. And now they're getting the profit of the pain that they can inflict on the American public, who, to tell you the truth, gas should have been at $8 a gallon, right? To force us to stop using these massive SUVs and drilling all over our country. But now it's profit taking. That's all. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, that was oil. That was painful. That took the first 20 minutes of the show. Okay, let's get on to significant activities. Let me talk about the most significant activity that has occurred in the last 24 hours, came out of the Wall Street Journal, and there were also reports from Barack Ravid at Axios. As you know, Barack Ravid is the mouthpiece of the Trump White House now. When they want to go to a journal, they don't even leak. They just call him in because, of course, he has an Israeli name, he's Jewish, and they think that he's a trusted agent, and Axios now has the most access of any paper in Washington. And what he wrote was, the White House today, right now, this morning, is meeting with Pete Hegseth and General Kane to be briefed on the three options to restart the war. The way they phrased it was that they were options for limited military strikes to force the Iranians back to the table. Now, I don't know a lot. What?
What table?
What table? What are you talking about? The card table. Because obviously they think they're playing poker with a checkerboard.
Last night, Trump said it was only by phone.
Only by phone. Okay. Oh. Okay, wait, there's more.
Yeah.
So apparently, even though we learned a week ago that Trump was saying he doesn't want to restart the war, he has it in his head that limited strikes on Iranian small boats, air bases around the Strait of Hormuz, and select ballistic missiles is not breaking the ceasefire and restarting the war.
Shut the fuck up.
I can't believe these people. He believes in his head that the war is over and that what happens next, attacking Iran, is what? Like Epic Fury 2.0, and it doesn't count? Iran made it clear, if you restart this war and you break the ceasefire, every country that is supporting you will be attacked. And that first country that you're going to attack is the United Arab Emirates, because the United Arab Emirates is now flying 12 U.S. Marine Corps fighter jets and 20 or so AH-64 U.S. Army Apache helicopters and A-10 Warthogs strike aircraft over the Strait of Hormuz now. Now, I don't know if they have orders to sink Iranian small boats, but they're now patrolling up there. And according to Trump a few days ago, their mission was to sink IRGC small boats that are not in Iranian waters, which is interesting because if one of them opens fire on one of those boats, the ceasefire is finished. We go back to, what day did the war end on? Day 46 or something like that? Or ceasefire started? We go back to zero. And reportedly, Hegseth, Kane, and Trump are meeting this morning to decide on one of three operations or all of them. One, attack the Strait of Hormuz and reopen it by force, which do they not understand? Insurance companies will not continue to insure you even if you do a breakout. If you do a breakout, it's only because you can't get food on your ship and you got to get out of there and you're willing to risk the ship, the cargo, and the crew. Right?
But they will insure for using the multipass. The
multipass.
That is
No
good
problem.
by the insurers.
No problem. Multipass, free, my friend. But I can't believe this. So that's option one. Option two is a limited war against, are you ready for it? Tell me if you've heard this before. Iranian ballistic missile sites.
Yeah, limited.
What? I recall we striking them every day for 40 some odd days. Somebody get me a count. What day did we go to ceasefire? I want to say 46, but it might have been higher. But I recall us going to the war ceasefired after we bombarded them with literally everything America has except atomic bombs. Everything. We used the Moab, the mother of all bombs. We used all of those. We used like almost 80% of our ballistic missile. Yeah, watch. What day was it? No, don't interrupt with breaking news. I don't want to see. I see that look on your face.
Not breaking news.
I can't fucking believe what I just read face.
Yeah. I have this. You just pass me a segue, Malcolm, when you're done, because then I have the next.
Okay. Wajeeh, is there breaking news that's higher than what I'm talking about?
No, I was about to say, what did I tell you about the 50,000 PSI cement that they have been using in their bunkers 500 meters below the mountains of Iran?
500 meters under a mountain. The mountains between you and all of that, right? And then once you get to the top, then it's 500 PSI concrete that has been drilled out by a tunnel boring machine they used on the channel, right? You gotta go. And they can't even touch it. They only got the apertures. So apparently Iran has reopened most of their apertures and have moved their Khorram Shah 4 ballistic missiles, the longest range and the one ballistic missile that has really hurt Israel. I mean, let's be honest, everybody. Those 24 people that were killed in Israel were killed by those cluster munitions coming down. Whereas a year and a half ago, when they had the ballistic missile war of 2024, zero got through. Zero. Except for the ones at Ramat David that they let fall into the desert. Right? Yeah. So we're in a bad place. This being said, that was the second strike option. And the third strike option is to do both and land on Karg Island, which, okay, I'm raising my hand real quick here. With what capability? Because I learned, as we learned 2 weeks ago, the USS Boxer Amphibious Readiness Group was sent back to Japan like the war was over. They only got those same Marines that have been there since day one of the war. The guys who came out of San Diego who should have been in the Indian Ocean was sent back to Japan on a regular float off of Guam and Okinawa, drinking sake and knocking down ass-high beer and sushi every day for the last 3 weeks. Because when the war started, they were supposed to have arrived not May 1st, April 1st.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, they're still in Japan, so we can't restart the land war, even though we still got 3,000 paratroopers doing PT, eating chow 3 times a day in the middle of the Jordanian desert.
Yeah.
Help me, Jesus. What are these morons? Was it just a show briefing to show Iran we've got options, which in fact, we have no options here?
No.
Help me.
Let me ask you
And-
this. First of all, let me answer your question. The ceasefire started on day 40 of the U.S. conflict, U.S. war on Iran.
40. See, I
The-
graced them 6 days and they still fucked it up. Day 40. They got
How long?
25 free
Wajeeh.
days.
How long would it take the U.S. ships that are in Japan to get to the Persian Gulf, Malcolm?
Just
3
as
weeks.
long as it did at the beginning of the war when they started out.
They could have been there for a month.
You
They
said
could have
3
let
weeks,
the
right?
they could have let the Tripoli amphibious readiness group
Yeah.
go all the way back to Japan and get some rest and relaxation and come back. And as soon
What
as
could
I learned,
happen in 3
that was
weeks?
3 weeks, we found out the Boxer group was in Japan. I was like, they have no intention, zero, of landing on any island because the Tripoli Amphibious Readiness Group only has 2 hovercraft, count them 2, right? 4 LCAC or LCUs, landing craft ship, and 14 armored personnel carriers. The Boxer was going to double that. 4 giant hovercraft, right? 8 LCUs total, and they would have had 28 amphibious assault tanks. That would be good capacity. And the Marine ship that was in Diego Garcia with a brigade, remember that ship, 700 vehicles, right? That thing turned around and went back.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
here's a good phrase, you and what army? You're going to restart this. One last thing, and I will stop ranting.
Okay.
Hegseth asked specifically, he's going to ask today specifically, to allow the U.S. military to deploy the Black Eagle. It's like me, right? The Black Eagle hypersonic missile, which is a long-range strategic weapon system now get this, to get Iranian rocket launchers, ballistic missile launchers that are out there on the Afghan border, that are too far away for our systems to get. Remember how I kept talking about airplanes got to fly 2 hours to get to the point where you last saw a ballistic missile, right? And by that time, it's at a Dairy Queen having ice cream. So, 100 miles away. So here's the fun part. The Black Eagle hypersonic missile, which will launch a ballistic missile into the air, it'll go into space, and it'll come down a few minutes later in Iran. We have, in this experimental weapon system, a full arsenal of 8. Can you see all my fingers? That's 8. That's it. That is every missile in the arsenal. Testing missiles ready for combat, 8. And guess what? We don't even know if they're going to work because we've never used it before.
And guess what? These geniuses that we've
We're
discussed
geniuses
for hours, Trump, so on and so forth. The Iranian answer came about an hour ago.
Oh, okay. All right. Tell it good.
What was the answer?
Whoa. What was the answer? Are we going back to the peace table? Are we going to go back to the...
Story short, Iran said, fuck you.
Yes, which I
They said, fuck you. And they didn't send some dude from the foreign ministry or some dude from the Ministry of Defense or some donkey out there. They read up a statement from Mushtaba saying, we don't give a rat's ass. We want the U.S. out of the Gulf, And our blocking of the Strait of Hormuz is entirely justified. And our shooting at our Arab neighbors is entirely justified because we will shoot at whoever are American puppets. And we will make sure that we will just keep the fight. And the Americans are over, they are out of the Gulf. They read out a statement allegedly from Mustafa. It doesn't matter whether Mustafa is dead or wounded or whatever. When they read a statement in his name, that is what the official response of the war is. Fuck you, fuck all your talk. We'll take the confrontation and the war and whatever you throw at us. Just come on.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
That's it.
I now can hear that statement in the immortal words of New York City representative. Actually, she's not a representative. She is a cultural icon of New York City, Rosie Perez. I don't know if you know the little Puerto Rican actress Rosie Perez, who typified that statement in the movie what was the name of that movie about the taxi drivers? Night before day or something like that. I'll have to look it up. But she's in a taxi in Brooklyn and she's there with her brother, and her brother drags her into the taxi and she's really mad. And she says, fuck you, and fuck you. From that minute on, she became New York City's cultural representative, and they actually have her at events because of her accent, right? That Brooklyn accent. I am hearing Mujtaba al-Khamenei in Rosie Perez's voice.
Exactly. And, all these statements that you hear about Iran succumbing to economical pressure and the Iranian ability to, use their oil industry to earn money and all that bullshit, and the Iranian regime is on its last legs, and all that nonsense you listen to. Then they read out a statement from Mustafa saying, "Go fuck yourself."
They got the full Perez.
Sorry about my language.
Well, let me tell you guys something. There's a reason that this Substack podcast is ranked number 10 and was number 9 in world politics. And you guys need to recommend this to your friends, because what we tend to do, for those of you who have followed us from the beginning, like Rue Rizuki and Mother of Terriers, or, and Yorkies, Mother of Yorkies, we tend to do a lot of predictive intelligence analysis on the basis of our experience. And one that I made weeks ago, back almost 25 days ago, almost a month ago, I predicted that the United States blockade would result in several things. But most importantly, I said, okay, you blockaded their ships. Their ships can't go out. But that's not going to stop all the trucks lining up at the Pakistan border. Thousands upon thousands of trucks growing from India to Pakistan, from Karachi, going all the way to Bandar Abbas, Bandar Khamenei, going out to the oil fields near Bushehr, and we'll be bringing that back in thousands of trucks because the spot physical price of oil is $50 more than the futures. That stuff, if it's 115 or it reached 120 in Brent North Sea crude, it's 175 on the spot market. Well, in further news, I should call it the Malcolm, you're right again category of significant activities, Pakistan is now lining up thousands of trucks.
Exactly.
To go from Karachi into Iran, the Iranians have just authorized any truck that wants to move oil is going into Iran, turning around, bringing it to Karachi, where it will be loaded onto Pakistani ships that will go to China. And those guys are probably buying it at 150 and selling it at 175.
And as everyone remembers, not long ago, Iran was shooting missiles at Pakistan.
Yeah.
And now they are the best of friends.
Yeah.
Because Trump has screwed up so badly that he has managed to unite these.
Can I give you guys a prediction?
Yeah, go ahead.
Certainly.
If the negotiations absolutely fail between the United States and Iran, you could definitely expect Iran to remove the Speaker of the Parliament, remove the President, and will remove the Foreign Minister. And the reason I predict that is because there is two factions in Iran.
Mm-hmm.
The faction of the IRGC and the faction of the people I'd like to call the pragmatists, which is the president, the speaker of the parliament, and the foreign minister.
Mm-hmm.
Those three believe that there is a chance and a good possibility of talking this out by peace talks.
Mm-hmm.
The IRGC, on the other hand, and Mustafa Khamenei feels that he is grateful for the IRGC because they are the ones that demanded him to become the supreme leader. So I believe that the supreme leader owes his position in one way or another to the IRGC, including the fact that the IRGC is the one that's holding him safe, and they are the ones that can control who has access to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
But
yeah.
Okay, come on, finish it.
Finish up. Yeah.
Finish it, Wajeeh. Finish it.
Now,
I might have a little challenge.
Now, I think if peace talks keep going in the right directions and things happen positively, they might keep their positions or they might stay there longer. But I believe that the IRGC and Iran might be leaning toward a more dictatorship style ruling system versus their version of a democracy style. So as there is conflict between the IRGC themselves, which I would love to hear from you, but I think that there is something to keep an eye on because Iran is having their own conflict on Game of Thrones, who's going to take in charge of the reins of Iran. So there is something to be said about what's happening there.
Yeah. And these are, as some of the guys that have followed my Q&As know, these are the guys I've been talking about for almost 2 months now. It's Vahidi over here. It is Mohsen Resai right here.
Mm-hmm.
It is Solgada right here. And those are the three main guys pulling the strings at the top of the IRGC. I will say it could be Wajeeh. I will, however, say I'll put my money on them not doing anything because they can pretty much pull the strings anyway and use Calibaf, use the president, use the foreign minister to throw sand into the eyes of Donald Trump and the world, etc., etc.
Right.
And then they have a statement read out allegedly by Mujtaba, but at the end of the day, it's these guys that drafted it, and they say "fuck you" anyway.
Right.
So, I, to be honest, I don't think they're going to do anything about these so-called pragmatists.
I think that the pragmatists maintain are useful because
for these
Americans only want to talk to guys who wear blazers, right? And sometimes will wear a tie, even though most Iranians. I don't know if you guys understand the significance of the blazer and open collar shirt in Middle Eastern cinema. This is important, and it was big in Iran, big in Lebanon, big in Egypt. And when you see those, even Indian in Bollywood, when you see those guys who wear the suit, you don't see them wearing ties, right?
Mhm.
This is not a joke. In Middle Eastern cinema, after the great Egyptian movie era, the good guys always wore ties like James Bond. But by the mid 80s, there was a big shift. Turkish television, in Turkish television, Iranian cinema, Arab cinema, they went to the good guy wore a blazer with no tie and an open collar. Right? Not a joke. Not joking. This is very serious. These guys who go to the Galibaf, Arachi, all those guys, if you look at them, they don't wear ties. Right? They wear the movie cool guy, too cool for a tie. White Western guys wear ties who typify the man, right? The business suit wearing character. And that's why they don't. Now, if Mujtaba al-Khamenei had his way, everybody would be wearing a dishdasha, right? They would be from the Imamate, right? IRGC uniforms. But they don't. Even the guys who came there, the director of IRGC intelligence was in civilian clothes. So I think that they will use them as foils, right? They will use them as characters. That being said, somebody made mention about nuclear weapons. Apparently, the big shift that Trump made a statement about yesterday was that all of these threats are not about the Strait of Hormuz. He loves the blockade now. He doesn't care if any oil moves. And as we discussed yesterday on your podcast, that means his friends are making a large amount of money. And he doesn't care about the rest of the world. He doesn't care about urea nitrate. He doesn't care about medicines out of India. He doesn't care that sub-Saharan Africa could be going to oil wars, diesel wars, right? Not water, diesel wars. He doesn't care. And now nuclear is back on the table. He has to have them concede on nuclear weapons, or this war is a failure to him. And now I think that Hegseth and Kane are going to give him the option to attack them again. Yeah, Jacob.
Yeah, but the trouble, I don't know if our viewers they follow that, but the trouble with Trump's definition of nuclear weapons is that he says nuclear enrichment is nuclear weapons, and there's no chance in hell that the Iranian regime will say we renounce our right to nuclear enrichment. That's just not going to happen, and especially not after what Trump has done by attacking them twice. So that's a non-starter.
Yeah, I can almost hear them say, "Okay, we will only enrich 450 kilograms to 60%. That is all." Right? Obama got like 100 kilograms at 3.5%, and they gave the Russians 200 tons of yellow cake and other unprocessed nuclear materials. Gave it to them, right? And that leads me to the Europe part of this this discussion. Apparently, Donald Trump had a phone call between Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, stop, rewind, back to the Middle East portion. Yesterday, Trump had a phone call with Benjamin Netanyahu for an hour to discuss what to do with Iran. And now, this morning, Hegseth and Kane are coming into the Oval Office to having a discussion about what to do. Somebody asked about Live Golf. We'll talk about that in a bit. But I think we may find ourselves at the end of Netanyahu's nose ring again. And he's going to tell us, this is it. You hit this place this time, just this time, with everything that you have, you will win, and the Strait of Hormuz will be open. I do not trust Netanyahu at all. At all. And not to mention, the Lebanon ceasefire is all but finished.
And then after talking to a trustworthy guy like Netanyahu, Trump talks to another trustworthy guy called Vladimir Putin.
Calls Putin up yesterday. Call me, baby. Call me. I miss you too.
Another productive phone call.
Oh, help me, Jesus. Oh,
yes.
Putin tells him, according to the readout, that Russia is willing, and we made this prediction a week ago. I can't read that. You'll have to put that up there. What does it say?
Hopefully these two will begin talking to each other.
Oh, it's Trump and Trump. So Putin talks to Trump for an hour yesterday, and Trump comes out and essentially says the United States is going to pull U.S. forces out of Germany. Now, that the Russians have been trying to get this since, wait for it, 1945. 1945. Joseph Stalin has been trying to get the Americans out. And suddenly, one phone call with Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. I guess Putin told him, oh, those Germans are mean to you. You should go. You should pull out. Pull all your forces out of Europe.
What Merz has said about Iran. Merz has said about Iran.
And he says, if you do that, I can almost hear it. If you do this, we'll convince Iran to give up their nuclear material, not knowing that he's talking about X-ray machine material. He's talking about old spent uranium waste out of the Bushehr nuclear power plant. And he probably said something like this: that way they won't be able to make a dirty bomb. Yeah, not an atomic bomb. Trump does not. He's such an ignorant person that with all the experts, Los Alamos Nuclear Laboratory, right? All the experts in the world, he will believe what a KGB officer that promised him a bunch of young Russian women back in 2012. He'll believe every word of that guy. This is why I have written 3 New York Times bestsellers, top 10 bestsellers, about Trump's relationship with Moscow and Russian intelligence. This guy is owned lock, stock, and barrel by that KGB officer.
Here's what we don't want to say. Or he wants to talk about the dirty bombs Iran will be making.
Too many.
But he doesn't want to talk about the fact that Iran already has enough enriched uranium for multiple nuclear bombs, actual nuclear bombs.
Khalas, too many bombs.
Put aside your dirty bomb. Put aside your dirty bomb. All they need is a nuclear head carrier from China or North Korea, and they are importing that into their shipment. And they have their engineers and scientists put it all together and under one of these 500-meter mountain, and you will have no idea what's coming your way.
Yeah, Vladimir, you're so smart. That's why I love you. That's exactly what happened in that phone call. That wasn't even a replay. That was almost a video recording. Except he wasn't kissing in the air. He's kissing at that ass. Okay. So now NATO, Putin threw Prime Minister Mertz's words into Trump's ears, and Trump wants to withdraw. There was an interesting comment from Representative Don Bacon, who was in the Air Force. I did not know this about him. I knew he was an senior Air Force officer. He said, I was commanding officer of Ramstein Air Base.
Okay.
Congressman Don Bacon, he goes, you're ending American strategic lift into Europe if you do this, which Putin is like, is that what I was saying?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Maybe you should go anyway. Literally, I made this prediction a year ago. I said this on MSNBC once. Donald Trump's portrait someday will have a black shroud over it because we will find he was actually an actual traitor. That's not even a prediction. I wrote books about this. There's no way you can explain any of this unless you realize, like Hillary Clinton said, he works for Moscow first.
Yeah.
Barron Trump bought a whole bunch of stocks and a whole bunch of different oil businesses before the United States started striking Iran.
$30 million 2 days before the war started. He must have 100. He sold his freaking fart coin profits. I'd slap a child who said some stupid shit like that to me. I'm gonna make a coin called fart coin, right? Trump's like, we're gonna steal people's money. Even Barron's good at stealing money. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
The USS Gerald Ford is finally heading home after a record-breaking year-long deployment. And geopolitically in sub-Saharan Africa, Mali, the capital Bamako, is still surrounded. The Russians are cutting deals and abandoning everything. The Russians are cutting and running so fast you'd think that they were Americans. Because this is what Trump's specialty was, cutting and running.
Yeah.
And abandoning places to our enemies.
A beautiful deal, Malcolm.
A beautiful deal. Now, I hear Mali is desperate for the United States to come back. You and Niger kicked us out, and you kicked France out. But once again, if I listen carefully, if I look right over this way, here, I'll give you guys a view. If I look right across this bay, where I'm sitting here in this very lovely location, right over there, I can hear the French military transports starting up with the French paratroopists and French Foreign Legion coming back to parachute into Mali again.
Mind you, today they are doing a lot of stuff in Greenland with the Danish Air Force.
That's so the mountain troops.
They have huge transporters up there at Kangerlussuaq today because they're actually helping us getting supplies through to the northernmost station that we have in Greenland. Just a little side.
Okay, but the French got a lot of transport. They got a lot of C-182s. They got a lot of transports. So flying the French Foreign Legion parachute regiment down there again and invading again, it's not something they're going to be begging the French. Please, we promise, this time we don't have coup d'etat of a lieutenant. Okay, Niger, Mali, the entire U.S. counterterrorism effort from 2001 until last week collapsed.
Gone.
Collapsed. And now it's like it's 2001 again. We got to do this all over again. This is a great place to be using AC-130 gunships and B-1 bombers, dropping 1,000-pound bombs. We're fighting the wrong war. These guys are Al-Qaeda and ISIS. And they're going for women and camels. That's what they want. Actually, Toyota pickups. That's what they want more than anything. Let's go to questions, guys. I mean, we've run long here today.
Exactly.
I have questions.
Yeah, what's your question?
Could you explain to the audience what it actually means when we say that the United States is out of 50% of its military stockpile?
Well, it's
That's
not
question number one.
50% of its military stockpile. It's 50% of its precision critical weapons like Patriot missiles, the high altitude air defense missiles. It means if we could waste half of America's strategic stockpile means weapons we have kept in case of full scale war with Russia or China, near peer adversaries is the term that we use. That means that we just fired that shit like a drunk monkey spinning in circles, dancing to techno. I mean, they just shot him to shoot him. It means there was no plan for those weapons. It's mindless, mind-boggling. Let me answer some questions because I'll just pull what few hairs I have left out of my head.
Malcolm, the important thing about that is also how long it takes to replace them. So you got to look at the production capacity.
And 10 years.
For some of them will be years. Yeah. That's the important thing.
Okay. So first questions on day 64. Let's go to questions. Urban Hermit, who is always asking good questions. Wasn't to hear a daily bit, hasn't heard a daily bit about Ukraine. Jacob? Oh, he wants us to. Could you buff us up there, Jacob, on Ukraine?
On Ukraine, well, the big thing really is how much the Ukrainian ability to really hurt the Russians is going up. And that's indigenous capability that they have been building up over the last 2 years, really. And that's really showing results now. And that's why the Russians have become stuck. Mind you, they've only been advancing a few kilometers at a time anyway for really the loss of thousands of soldiers. So, but the Ukrainians are looking better, and they're able to hurt the Russians much harder than what they have. Right. And when it comes to striking Russian oil infrastructure, the strikes that we've seen over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month have really gone up. And that's a function of the long range capability that Ukraine has built indigenously.
Yep. I saw a good news report yesterday. I was in a newsstand that Scotland, the Fishermen's Association of Scotland, are donating tens of thousands of miles of fishing nets that are used so that the Ukrainians can put them over roads to catch drones. And that's how they get around on the forward edge of the battlefield now. France, thousands of fishing nets from France were sent up there and used. So double thumbs up to the Fishing Association of Scotland for helping out the Ukrainian army. Also saw a great meme of President Zelensky yesterday. Had Zelensky, dragged eyes, wearing his body armor, walking around Kyiv. And the joke was, I never knew I'd needed a ballroom.
Yeah, that's right.
That guy, he has 36 attempts to kill him. The one where they tried to shoot him down in Ireland with a drone may have been 37. They said there were 4 drones in the air. At the time he was scheduled to land, hovering in the flight path, and that they believe it was a Russian plot to shoot down his plane. But since he's a smart head of state, the real landing time is always wrong, right? It's always early or late so that people with drones and sniper rifles can't come out and shoot you.
Yeah. Just a quick one on Ukraine, just to all our viewers. You know that I did a Q&A from Ukraine about Ukraine last week. And I should have done one more this week about Ukraine, but I promise that my Q&A next week will be on Ukraine. The one that I have tonight will be on what we've seen today from the Iranians and these forever wars that I have been a part of, all of them. So I'll just give a little briefing on those, and then you can ask questions.
Okay, great.
More on Ukraine next week.
Yeah, I think we should do a paid subscriber. Okay. Yeah. Michael Seaver says, Malcolm, do you have the book on 2 SAS by Bill Sterling and the Forgotten Special Forces Units of World War II? The reason he asked that question is because every year I go overseas to Egypt and I give a private tour led by myself on the origins and history of the Special Air Service. We go everywhere, all over Egypt, well, northern and western Egypt for that. And I do not have Bill Sterling's book on the 2 SAS, which was after the originals, the first guys who were 1 SAS. 2 SAS was formed to go to Sardinia and was placed under the command of Sterling's brother, Bill Sterling, after Colonel Sterling had been captured. And I'll have to look that up. And in fact, I'm doing special operations executive stuff down here in southern England. And if you don't know about that, those were the British spies that preceded the American OSS. That were sent to Europe, who were sent to set Europe aflame. Every time I'm here, I stop in at SOE sites, and I may be doing a special Black Man Spy video tour of some of those sites. So pay attention to that. Let me see. Christine says, could you speak about the Northern Navy's initiative? This is a multinational maritime force that's being established by navies in the North Atlantic and North Sea. That's Norway, Sweden, I don't know if Britain's in the Northern Navy's initiative, but Denmark, others, that will be like a micro NATO maritime force for their own interest. So the question is, it's forced to defend the High North with the UK leading the family of allied fleets. This is meant to complement, not to compete with NATO. Does this signal Europe's move from the USA military? I think it does.
Yeah.
I think it does. And it showed us that when you want an aircraft carrier battle group, or you need a few anti-submarine destroyers, and you have Donald Trump as president of the United States, and you might have to respond rapidly to a geopolitical threat against Greenland, right? I'm looking at you. Ship with a large amphibious force out of Norfolk, Virginia. Then the Northern Navies could respond to that. Also, Jacob, you might recall a year ago when I was speaking to Danish television, the most watched political show in Denmark, I said, prove to the United States you can defend yourself. Fill the country up with weapons. Have more ships come out. Station advanced anti-submarine and anti-air warships in Greenland. Put up fighter jets. Exactly. And then suddenly all of that happened. And now you have this initiative with navies and military forces now guarding the North Atlantic. And here's the kicker. They're not looking north to Murmansk like they did for 70, 80 years. Looking south.
And just an important little side note. What is happening in Europe now is that the European leaders are actually discussing a collective defense clause within the EU. That has never been, anything before, because we all stuck to the NATO.
I like it.
The
EU
NATO
Article 1.
Yeah, exactly. But
an attack on any of us is an attack on all of us.
Exactly. And
I like it.
Now the leaders are really saying this is what we need to operationalize. So big things are happening, guys. Big things.
That's big. That is big. That's really good. Okay, next question. I just missed it. Oh, that's really old. Ward Carroll. Oh, I can't. I flipped up all the way to the top, like a month's worth of questions. Like, okay, here we are. Okay, the question was Ward Carroll is reporting he's a fighter pilot. He is on Twitter. Is reporting that an F-5, an Iranian F-5 aircraft, a 60-year-old aircraft, 70-year-old aircraft, hit the base in Kuwait much worse than they reported. Any thoughts? We have seen actual airstrikes that occurred on day one of the war. They weren't reported for a few days. Old Iraqi Air Force Su-24 fencers that were part of the Iraqi Air Force adopted into the Iranian Air Force tried to strike Ras Laffan Air Base in Qatar. Both of them were shot down by Qatari aircraft. We saw also Su-24s tried to attack Saudi Arabia. They were turned back. And then F-5 Freedom Fighters. This aircraft was developed in like 1958. It was, if you watch Apocalypse Now, where they do the airstrike and they with the napalm, those are all Filipino Air Force F-5s. They're very light. They're very fast. When I covered the Iran-Iraq war, we were tracking Iranian F-5s and F-4 Phantoms that would come to the Iraqi border and they would have dogfights. It was crazy. And that it penetrated because it's low and fast and pilots with guts attacked the U.S. airbase, I believe it was at Ali al-Salam, and scored hits. So I don't know. I'm going to have to read that article that Ward Carroll says he's a Navy fighter pilot. But the Iranians got through, guys. And they said, and even though with the Israelis patrolling the entire air with F-35s, small, fast things can get through, especially if you don't respect them. That question came from Steve Munoz. Hellenish says, if they continue as things continue as they are, how long before the U.S. goes beyond just high oil prices to actual shortages, lines, gas stations? Could be a matter of weeks, months, definitely months, but it just depends on whether these prices of oil, if they hit 120 and start going higher, that's it for everything. You're going to start getting shortages. And now that we see that U.S. producers are selling off the oil, right, at highest bidder auction, things are going to start getting bad. First, you're going to see giant spikes in gas from $4.99 in Michigan up to $6. It'll go up $1. It won't go up 20 cents, right? Especially as people start realizing gas is running out. People go up and they fill their cards and they're hoarding. I'm paying $8 here in the United Kingdom at the cheapest per gallon. Melanie says, how low were the U.S. reserves when the war started in Iran? Roughly, if you all remember the oil reserves. I think, Wajeeh, you said that, right? The Strategic Petroleum Reserve is almost empty. Not because Biden emptied it, because the Trump administration refused to fund refilling it. And they were like, I'm going to talk to my buddy in Saudi Arabia. We got some glowing orbs that we fondle, and I'll get it refilled.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
This question was answered 2 days ago. Pamela Williamson says, will the OPEC pullout by the UAE make a difference in our gas prices? Yes. I tweeted that the UAE pulling out meant one thing and one thing only. Every man for himself. If you can get money on your oil out in the open market, max money, go get it, baby. Don't let the organization control you. Nigeria's next. And if that oil's out there, it's all being sold to the highest bidder, not to the lowest bidder. So your oil prices are going up. Your gas prices are going up. We talked about Ramstein. Linda Whitey says, if Trump shuts down Ramstein, where's the flying wounded going to go in the Middle East? I'm going to tell you. Where's they going to go, guys? Wajeeh, what's your guess?
I couldn't hear. I couldn't understand the question. Could you
If they
repeat it?
take away Ramstein Air Base, where we have Landstuhl Army Hospital, and we've had it since 1945, Where will U.S. wounded in the Middle East go to be stabilized, then flown back to the United States?
Qatar.
Qatar? What do you think, Jacob?
I don't think there are any options that can replace Landstuhl.
Can't replace Landstuhl because it's like 5 extra hours of flying.
Yeah.
Israel. That's what I wouldn't be surprised. They go, we'll give you the Donald Trump military hospital. We'll give you, I find it funny that the bases that they gave us, like Uvda, are way in the east, like much closer to Iran than putting them out in Ashdod or something.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody says, Sally.
I gotta go, guys.
Okay, well, that's it. Go with that. We pretty much got it all. And that we've gone long. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Wajeeh.
Another good show with good news from around the globe tomorrow.
Yeah, it'll be awesome. Be sure to like and subscribe. Like if you're watching this on Facebook, on YouTube, malcolmnance.substack.com, Wajeeh Lion.substack.com, jacobkaarsbo.substack.com. Follow us there. But if you got to watch this in recording, enjoy it, like, subscribe, and recommend this to your friends. I need to get to 100,000 free followers on Substack. So thank you, guys. See you tomorrow.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
See you then.